Hey everyone, so this is just an continuing video for the implementation which was left in today's session. Okay, so we have this guide which was shared in WhatsApp also for your reference. So it has all the installation guide, like whatever we need. So I am personally using VS Code code editor. It's your personal choice, whatever you're using, you can keep using that. Okay, so if you want to use VS Code, the links are provided here. Now we would be additionally requiring Node.js. So if you click on that, it will open up this website. Okay, and based on your operating system, you can use as in you can download the specific Node.js installer and you can install it in your systems. Okay, so once you complete the installations, and you can open up the command prompt in your system, and you can write node in the command prompt. Okay, so expected output should be the current or the installed version of the node. If it prints something like node is not recognized as a keyword or something like command, then it means you have not properly installed it. You need to uninstall and reinstall the whole thing once again. Okay, so it should print this version. For me it's printing 16.13.2, so that is what I had installed. Okay, so that is done. Now again, like, I will open the command prompt, and okay, so as you can as in I can let me increase. Yes. So now that I've increased the size, okay, so now what I will be doing is that now you can see my current path is the default directory path. Okay, so it's in users. Now I don't want it to be in users. I wanted to be in desktop. So okay, so I'm using cd desktop, which is like change directory command, and I'm specifying the path I want to switch to. I want to switch to desktop. Now I will use mkdir, which stands for make directory. So I want to make a folder which has to be named as test. Okay, so I have made the folder, but the path still remains the same. So what I have to do again, I have to again use cd. I will specify the folder name, and now you can see the path has changed. Okay, I will use cls to clear out the contents. Now, okay, let me do. Now I want to start a the most basic node project. What I can use is the command I should use is npm init, and I'll use the flag of y. Okay, so this basically what it did is that it created the basic Node.js project for me, and you can see the output of the package.json file, which is the heart of every Node.js application, or you can say the introductory file for every Node.js application. It has printed its content. Okay, so just a brief introduction or a brief explanation on that. So it contains all the entry points. Okay, so like which is the first file, or which is the basic the first file the program should start from, where it should start the script to run from. It specified as, and then it also specifies scripts, as in what should it run when you write that particular command or the script. So it should like run first of all app.js or something like index.js. You have to specify that what should happen on if you write npm start, if you write npm run dev or something when you build on projects. So it like specify those scripts. And thirdly, it also specify the dependencies. What does your like what are the packages your project is dependent on, and what are the dependencies, what are the like packages it is using, what are their versions. So it is like kind of an index of the whole node.js project. Okay, and all of these information along with licensing is what package.json for you. Okay, and that is just an explanation on the same. Now what I'm doing is that I'm writing code dot, what it will do, it will open that specific project for me in VS Code. Okay, so once I did that, you can see a VS Code terminal was open. I can see the same package.json file. Now what I'm doing is that I'm opening my terminal here. Okay, and I'm just using cls. So my path remains the same in the folder itself. Now I want to install the packages which I want to work with. Okay, so for our particular sample project, I want two packages. I'll install it using npm. So I'll install it this way. You can use separate commands as well. I'm using it in a one liner format. So once I did that, you can see this change happens in the like package.json file. This dependency is added along with the versions of the packages installed. Okay, and additionally you can see here node modules folder was also added. Okay, so this is one of the like folders which consist all the package files, package related files. And these files, like, you can like import specific portions of this, and you can reuse in your code, so that it like assists you to like create your project and simply make it up and running faster. So that is how it works. And node modules is specifically ignored when you are like pushing your code to public repositories or something, like you're maintaining your project. So what you do is that you create one dot git ignore file, and like specifically you add this particular folder to this git ignore file. What it does is that git would ignore this completely. Okay, so if you people have not used git, okay, once you get familiarized with git, you will understand that git is a version control management system. So what it does is that it maintains the versions of the like files you're working on, as in if you have added new files, if you're editing the existing files, if you're like modifying the existing files, you're adding content, you're deleting content. So it will track every changes, and you make commits. So commits are like permanent snapshots. Okay, so like I will refer, if I want to refer at a later point in time, I will refer it using commits, not by changes. Okay, so whatever commit you make, that is what is important here. So suppose say you're working on project which is like working at this hour. Okay, it's 9 in the night right now. So it's working right now. Suppose say I make some changes, I sleep off, and next morning I start running the project again. It doesn't start properly. It gives me a whole bunch of errors in my screen. So now at that particular time, it's not possible for me to how to I can't use undo and everything. Okay, so in that particular scenario, it's not also feasible for me to take screenshots. Like I won't have taken photos of my code, and it's not feasible. Okay, because my code would have been much larger or something, like I would have more than 10 files or 100 files also. So it wouldn't have been feasible to have all those photos in my phone. So version control helps in that. So you can revert back in time, as in you can revert back some changes. You can also track your changes when you're working with multiple people in your team. You can track changes, who made what changes and when. So that is how git works. And like git ignore would specify the files you want to ignore. So node modules is what I want to ignore. One more file which developers do include is .env. So .env is a file. Okay, so where you actually specify your environment variables. Also, it includes, if in a layman term I want to explain, it's like it stores your credentials or the private accessing things you use to, credentials, I would say. Like the layman term is credentials. So suppose you're working on MongoDB or something, so you will mention your connection URL or the username of the MongoDB and password of the same. You will mention it here. So like it's used for your private use case. You don't again push, you don't want people to get hold of your credentials, so you keep it privately. And in .env, everything, like once you work on project, you have a lot of credentials. It's because you use a lot of services. It's not like you go somewhere and you will get everything there. Okay, so like for database you might use MongoDB, you might use SQL also. So for some other use case, like you will use some other provider. So like every credential, like it's accumulated in the .env file, and you particularly ignore this .env file. You don't want to push anything. Okay, so directly in any file you don't use credentials. Okay, it's not like copy paste thing. What you do is that you suppose say like I'll assigning a variable name, username here. I will give my secret value here, whatever it is, and I will use it then in a particular format, which is like process and .env and the variable name. This way I'll be specifying it in the public other files. Okay, if I have other files here, suppose say we have some JavaScript files here, I will mention it as it has this, not like I'll not copy paste everywhere this particular value. Okay, so what we do is that we particularly assign some environment variables, and we specify their values, and we completely ignore this file by putting it in git ignore. So that is what we do. Okay, so this is an enough explanation on the same. What I have to do now is I will go to my skip to my project path. So like I'll go to cd dot dot, which is like coming back to desktop. I want to go back to the previous directory. I have already one of the projects which is inside the MS Cloud folder. So I'll use this command. Okay, I did that. Now I'll use code dot again to open it in VS Code so that you can see the files over here. Okay, so yes, it's open, and let me go to the package.json file. Here you can see a similar kind of thing. Here the main file or the entry point is app.js file. Okay, I am not using index.js. So again, here the dependencies are same both two modules, which I specified in previous demo as well. You have a web.config file. Now one of the attendees like had asked me that she is facing some errors. Okay, so that can happen if you don't follow the conventional names for the files, as in by default Azure or any service provider would search for index.js file. Now it depends on you what file you are using. Okay, it's not I won't say that it's a compulsion to use index.js. I am using app.js, so what I have to do is I have to additionally include this configuration file, which tells that my basic file or the starting entry point should be app.js. So it should look out for app.js and it should start the execution, right? So that is what it specifies. In scripts also, you can see I have just mentioned like specified test. Okay, now let me move on to app.js file. So here you can see that we have imported the express, whatever, like I'm using express here. So I have created an app using that. Okay, so once you create an app, what you do is that you set the view engine. So view engine is similar to like setting up the templates, like where to get the HTML templates from, and like where to put the HTML templates to. So it's currently for our project we are specifying it to be EJS, so that's why we have set it as view engine and EJS. Second, on line 5, I have used an app.use. So it's like specifying what files it should use. So I want static files. I wanted to use static files which are like present in the views folder. So I have a views folder. I have static files here. What I mean by static, where the code remains the same, as in static technologies such as HTML, CSS. These can't be changed directly. You have to like if you are using some frameworks, suppose React, so you can like the HTML code or changes automatically based on whatever components you are rendering and those things. On the like client side, you will see the equivalent HTML code getting rendered on the same. So that is how like so you can't say that HTML is responsible for that. React is actually doing the work. So HTML in itself is a static language, and CSS also you can directly make the changes. Okay, so that line specify that. Now express, like like a vanilla JS can be used blindly for any node.js project for creating servers and all those things. But where does express comes in is like it like it's makes your project whole more lot more effective, and it makes it's like provides you ease to create those HTTP requests. It's like it's easy to like maintain or handle the HTTP request using express. So that is what here on line 8 we are doing. We are handling a get request. We are making get request, and it is specified on the base route, which is like if you don't like you just go to google.com, that is specified using this there is no specific the back part of the URL. There is nothing. Google.com is in itself a base URL. If you specify it like this means the base URL. So if you make a request on that, so for every like request, you have two components which are like request body and like response. So REQ means request and RES means response. So what it does is that when you make a request on the base route, okay, if it doesn't have any back slash part, so what you do is that you render this particular data into the like you're particularly rendering this particular data which is on the right to the home.ejs file. So that is what this is specifying. And the second route, which is specified by backslash the sample, it is what is doing is that it's rendering the data again into sample.ejs file. And in the line 7, you can see we have specified the port. Again, you can see the format I've used. Okay, if I had one env file, it would have taken that port. Otherwise, for our project, you can see I don't have any env file, so it will by default take 5000 as the port number. Okay, and it will start the server at 5000 port. So we can see that as in if I open my terminal. Okay, so what we have to do to start a node project, we'll use node app.js. So once I do that, you can see server started. If I go to my browser, if I go to my browser and if I type localhost 5000, it should show me the project. So this is what the project was, as in this a very basic template or like you can say a basic overview on the event resources and all those things I've created. So this is what it looks like, the page looks like. Now suppose say you make a change. Okay, so we let me go to app.js and let me go to home.ejs, and let me make a change like sample list. Instead of that, let me make it as sample list. Let me make it a sample Azure event list, something like that. Okay, so let me save it and let me refresh the page. I What do you think? It should update it here? Yes. So it did updated here, as in you can see the change happened. Okay, but otherwise, like sometimes if you're using only Node.js projects, what will happen is that it will not automatically make the changes. What you have to do is you have to stop the server sometimes, and you have to again restart it to see the changes. Now this time, we our changes was visible, but sometimes it isn't, because only for Node.js project it is sometimes not rendered. So unlike frameworks where React and all, where you make a small change and the whole server is restarted, or you can say the whole server restarts. Unlike that, Node, you have to restart the server again to see the new made changes. Okay, so this is one of the heads up for that. Now you will feel that why I should write a node app.js every time. So what is the solution for that? You can go into package.json. You can actually specify your own script. Okay, so I'm adding a comma over here because I want to add a value. I will write start and I will specify what I want to run. I want to run node app.js, sorry. And now what we can do, the alternate way is I can use npm start directly, and it will do the same purpose, as in it will start the server at local 500. If you want to verify, I can go to the browser and I can refresh. The website is still visible. Okay, so that is what it does. Now what our purpose is, we need to push it to a repository. So let me create a new repository. Okay, so here let me make a new repository of cloud MLSA, and let me make it as a public repository, and let me click on create repository. And I'm skipping this part because I'll explain it further in my own thing. Okay, so let me stop this. You can execute the git commands in a normal, normal terminal itself. Otherwise, if you have like specifically like git should be installed, but it doesn't matter if you are using another terminal also. I'm using this git bash terminal specifically so that you can see what I'm doing also. Okay, so clear is there. So now what I'll do git init, which is like initializing a git repository inside this. Okay, so I'm doing that. So you can see the output also, it initialized the git repository. Now a very specific thing I want you to observe is the left side of this. You can see 463 changes were there. Okay, so it keeps on tracking those changes. Okay, so the symbol U, which you see here in front of like every file, it means like untracked, which is like it is currently not tracking these files. These are all new files for the git version control. Okay, so all of these are untracked files, and as we don't have, we don't have this dot ignore file. So now let's see what happens after I add dot ignore file. Yes, so I have to mention node module. So just see to the number how it changes. Okay, so from 464 it changed to just 7 files. Okay, so we don't want node modules to be pushed to the repository. Okay, every user who is using your project, he should do the npm install after he takes your code, source code or everything. Using that package.json dependencies and all the packages requirements, npm install would install all the requirements, and it will make the node modules for that specific users. You don't have to push your node modules folder for that. Okay, uh, it's not recommended, or please never do that. Okay, so always maintain properly, keep an eye on what you're pushing to the public repositories. So after you're done git init, what you have to do, okay, all of these are untracked files. What I'll do now, I'll add it to the, so for adding, I can use git add dot, which is like adding all of the files together. Okay, if I don't want to add all files together, I can specify the file name specifically, and it will add only that particular file. Now I want to add everything, so that's why I used git add dot. Okay, now after adding, oh sorry, now after adding, what you have to do, you have to make the commit. Okay, so I'm making the commit as files added. This flag m means that I want to put a message which reads as files added. Okay, so once I do that, commit would be made. Okay, now I have made the commit. Okay, now you can see my branch is specified in master. but the default branch in like GitHub recently it's changed to main. So I'm just changing my branch to main. So you can see my branch is changed to main. Now what I have to do, okay, this is all my remote, this is all my local repository, which is on my own system. How can I connect it to my remote repository or the repository which I have created on GitHub? Okay, so I have to add one link. Okay, so now link, that link, particular link is what you call here as remote. So you add a link which is specified or referenced by using this particular name, which is known as origin. Okay, and it's a conventional name, as in, like, you can give any name here, you can use your any name if you want to give it here, but origin is specifically used as a conventional name when you are the owner of that repository. If you are not the owner of the repository, you specifically use upstream for that. Okay, and that's the convention. Otherwise you can use anything. So I specified that, and in front of that you have to specify the URL of that repository. Okay, you can directly copy paste. I'm just writing it out. I think it was cloud MLSA. Yes, it was cloud MLSA. So cloud MLSA.git. I've done that, and the remote was added. Now what I have to do is that I have to push the last option. The last thing I have to do is that I have to push my code to from using the origin remote to the main branch. Okay, so once I do that, it will push the code into that, and if I go to my GitHub repository, if I refresh here, you can see all the files are present here. Okay, now our code is ready in the repository. Okay, so now I can go to the Azure portal, and this is the Azure portal, how it looks like. And if you go to all services, you will see what are all the resources present here, or the services offered by Azure. Okay, so broadly, as we discussed in the presentation also, we have compute, networking, storage, and databases kind of services provided by Azure. So like there is a lot more additions to that, and like sub services also there. So broadly we specify them in four categories, but at all, like, you have more than 200 services there. And as one of you also asked for training or like learning resources, so I had mentioned about MS Learn there. So you have like these free learning paths, not just three, you have a lot more thing. Let me click on see all. So like it's very free. You can see on the top right corner, I'm not signed into any account. Okay, still I am able to access this. Okay, on the left side you can put in any filter, or any specific things you want to do. Beginner specific, if you want, you have a lot of modules. Okay, it's like the list is very much extendable, and it's like specific to whatever thing you are aiming at. Okay, like learning modules for certification exams are also there. Learning modules for specific Microsoft technology is also there. So let me go to this introduction to Azure fundamentals. So like this is a self-paced learning path. Once you click on start, you have like whole explanation. You have like some kind of like in between they have visual content also, they have video type of content also, visual type of demonstration also, they have a documented or written type of format also. So for every user they have specific documents or the content prepared. So not everyone likes to read, so for them they have visual content also. Not everyone likes to see content, they like to read, so for them they have documentation purpose. So they have different like different types of learning paths and all those things. So it's like you can see here visual contents already there. So like you can do it at your own speed, and like after at the end of every learning path, you have a this particular small quiz which tests your knowledge, or how well did you uh, learn that particular concept or something from this learning path. And these are like you can reattempt this particular quiz multiple times, and you can pass this particular learning module. So this is what it offers, free training from Microsoft. Okay, and you have like many of the facilities. As we are talking about cognitive services, it has applied AI services, face APIs, and question answer makers, and even you have chatbot facilities here. You have form recognizer and all those things. So yeah, like a lot of facilities are there for you. As in database also, we discussed about NoSQL and SQL. You have relational tables, data lakes, you can do that, and all those things are present over here for you to explore. Okay, so As I said, we would be more focusing towards web development. So I will be using app services out of this, and I will be creating one of the web applications. So okay, let me create that. So simple step is that I clicked on create, and now I will use the basic subscription, as in the Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. I'll create my own resource group. Okay, let me take it as cloud okay, and let me create that. Okay, now web app name again, like let me give it a same only. Okay, and my publish or whatever thing is using a code only. I have the code, and I can select my runtime stack. You can see like I have a lot more options here, as in it supports multiple languages. So currently our project is based on Node 16 LTS, so that's why I would be using runtime stack as Node 16 LTS, and my operating system is Windows. Region is again, like it's not specifically that we are in India, so we have to select India. You can select anything. I would go with the default one, Central US. Okay, app service plan, need not to change. Again, this is one of the things that's specified in event. Please make sure you change it to free ones. Go to, like, press this Dave test, click on F1, which is the free pricing tiers of this. So click on apply, and free F1 is applied. The last thing you have to do is click on review plus create, and again you have to click on create. Okay, so this is like a confirmation page that what you have created. So you confirm that and click on create. So it takes about 1 to 2 minutes to actually successfully deploy it. Okay, so as in it will also redirect after some time. So once it redirects, you can see what is the status of your deployment, whether any errors were there or anything you did wrong. Okay, so it will specify the error very specifically. And like Azure has their own inbuilt console also. So if you learn Azure very deeply, and like if you become very proficient, I don't think you will ever use GUIs very much. Okay, so you'll always be a fan of command lines once you are like acquainted with Azure services and a lot more like things it provides. So yes, our deployment is in progress. You can see we have got 3 check marks right now. We just need to get the final one, and after that, yes, so our deployment has succeeded. Okay, so now if I go to resource, I'll click on go to resource, and on the like top right thing, I'll get the URL also. So I'll got that URL. If I click on that, what should appear? Should the same website should appear? No. Okay, why is it not appearing? This is just an empty website. You can see we have not connected our code. It's present in GitHub, doesn't mean that it would be used directly here. Yeah, right? So we have to specify that I want to use that code. So what I will do now, the second step is that I will look into deployment, or the CI/CD pipeline I was talking about, which stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. Okay, so once I did that, actually I'll go to my Cloud Hurricane app service I created. Okay, and I went there, and on the left, this bar, you can menu bar, you can see the deployment center over here. You can click on that, and here you can see how, like, you will get the steps on how to create a CI/CD pipeline. So select the code source. We have it on GitHub, so we'll select that. Then like, you have to sign in here. Since I'm already signed in, it's showing directly. Otherwise, you please sign in and authorize. And then you have to select organization. Okay, I am a part of multiple organizations, so that's why it's showing. So I will select my personal account here. I am selecting the repository. We made it as cloud MLSA, so I'll select that. Branch, we set it as main. Okay, and other things we don't have to do that. Still, we'll preview what workflow. So as I had mentioned in the event, that workflows are the things which you want it to perform after you push or make any changes on the GitHub. Okay, so if you make any modifications or something, so this workflow would be running, as in there are specific steps, like it has mentioned specific steps it should run, specific steps that should happen for deployment. So it has like everything mentioned over here. So this is the workflow which should be used. Okay, so I'm just closing it now. The please don't forget to like press save here. Okay, once you click on save, then only it will be connected to the GitHub code repository which we have. So once I did that, you can go to your repository. You can refresh here, and you can see a .github workflows folder was created where you have a YML file, which is which the full form stands for yet another markup language. So yes, you have the same file, same version we saw just right now. So the same code is added over here. If you go on actions tab, you can also see what's happening. Okay, so we have a workflow going on here. Okay, yeah, so this is just because we have added right now. Okay, so this is the first iteration of it is happening right now. Once you update anything, once you make any changes, again this will happen. Okay, so you can make any changes, and you can hover to the actions tab again, and you will see a second workflow is running in the list. So it will happen after every push is happening, after every edit is made. Okay, now you can see a cross is visible, so does it mean we have made any errors? Okay, so if anyone knows, they can actually if you know already what is the error is, I would say very good. Like, you have literally worked with this actions and you have understand the workflow. But if you haven't, the only error we did is that we forgot to remove our test script. Okay, there is an exit code mentioned over there, we don't need that. Okay, so once we make that edit, it will again start that workflow. So I intentionally didn't edit it so that you can see that after I make any edit, you can see the workflow getting added. So I removed that part. Okay, and I am committing those changes. So once I did that, I will go to actions. You can see second workflow. You can see the update package.json. I made this edit, so that's where second workflow is started. Okay, the steps don't change, but like a newer data, newer code, whatever change you have done, that is deployed automatically on the Azure website which you have created. So it's in process, as in it's performing its workflows here. So it's deploying it to production, and then it will be visible on the URL which was made in the app service of Microsoft Azure. So as we discussed in the session also, it depends on company to company how they want to deploy it. As in, if they want automatic deployment, fine. If they want manual deployment, they have to take the changes which they have done, and they have to update it manually in the server or the cloud or anything platform they are using for the deployment purposes. So this is just an overview on CI/CD pipeline, which aims on continuous integration and continuous deployment. So we are continuously integrating our changes, merging our changes, and it's continuously deploying it on the Azure website. So it gave me the URL. Let me go to that, and we'll see our website up and running on the URL. Yes, so you can see that the website is visible here with all of the things working, and you have the same response getting. Even the edit we made there is also visible here. So yes, that is all for the demo. And the MLSA application thing, we can get it done by anyone who wants guidance, they can personally contact me and they can get in touch with me. And really sorry that I have to record this as an external part of this event, and I have to send it across. So from next time, we'll have some backup or something, because that unexpected update happened. So that's why. But thank you for joining. But thanks for joining the event once again, and hope you follow this demo. And if any doubts are popping up, please do feel free to contact and get in touch, and please get it rectified as soon as possible.